Hey guys, it's Destiny, and today we are going to be doing tier list review where I like us to come together as a community and just share our opinions on where characters should potentially be placed, how good do you guys think characters are, and what I personally think about the characters on the tier list as well. So if you guys do enjoy videos like these, do make sure to subscribe, leave a like to support the video, and before we get into it, let me know, as of recently, what has been your favorite Star Rail team to play with? It can literally be any of the characters, or even a character you've recently built. But yeah, without further ado, let's just get straight into it. So as you guys can see, here is the Pride Win tier list, which I like to review this, whenever a new character comes out. So we're just going to take a look at the tier list. I'm just going to give you guys my thoughts. And of course, there is also the changelog, which will tell us why characters are placed where they are. So I'll also be going over this after I go over a character that I feel like should either be higher or lower, and this is definitely a hefty changelog. So right off the bat, we have Acheron, which of course is our newest 5-star character, and she is at S+. Now, honestly, I fully agree with this placement for numerous reasons, and one thing I really love about Acheron, if I were to just talk about it real quick, is how easy she makes overworld farming and simulated universe runs. Literally, her technique is one of the most fun techniques to just use, because if an enemy is not an elite enemy, you quite literally just destroy them and you get all the rewards. So in Simulated Universe, if you use your technique, you just immediately get the blessing, assuming that they're not an elite enemy, which most of the time, most of the enemies that you encounter throughout the way, except obviously for those elite enemy stages, are just going to be regular enemies, so you just easily get your blessings and just breeze through Simulated Universe. And I swear my runs have been like way shorter now. And then when it comes to overworld farming, if you guys are interested in the daily farming or just, getting more materials and stuff like that, she definitely makes it way easier to do that. So that's one perk of Acheron I really love. It's just literally a quality of life perk. And then when it comes to her actual strength, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I would go as far as to say she's easily one of the best DPS characters in the game. Personally, I'm feeling the #1 slot with how powerful she is. And the fact that she doesn't really care about enemy weaknesses because of the fact that her ultimate reduces an enemy's toughness meter no matter what is really powerful, because in a sense, she just doesn't care about the weakness. She reduces your ult type resistance. So if you did have a bit of a resistance to the lightning element, now that is lower, which in turn lets her do more damage. And when it comes to team building with Acheron, you can go multiple ways with her. I personally really like using a character with her that can reduce defenses, which would make Black Swan, Silver Wolf, or Pela. And then for my third Nihility character on the team, it can really be anyone, honestly. I just really like the combo of Pela Silverwolf or even Pela Black Swan. And the reason I really like Black Swan is because currently in the Memory of Chaos, it is really damage over time centric, which Black Swan can definitely take advantage of and just deal a bunch of damage alongside Acheron herself. Plus the defense drops from Black Swan is pretty beneficial, and if you do have a Pela with Resolution Shines Pearls of Sweat, you have your Pela's ultimate leveled up a good amount, and then you also have Black Swan's skill leveled up a good amount, then you're going to have near 100% defense shred, which just makes your Acheron literally blow through the enemy, like no problem. So Acheron takes a whole new approach in my opinion. And I know some people were a little worried on, okay, what about Acheron and Kafka? Because Kafka is also Lightning Nihility, but as we can see, Acheron just takes a completely different approach when it comes to going forward with her damage. She is way more front-loaded than a lot of the Nihility characters, since majority of the damage over time characters of the Nihility path are, really backloaded. Acheron, in my opinion, is pretty front-loaded. The ultimate does need some time, of course, to ramp up, but once you have it, you just have it and you deal all your damage just right off the bat. Kafka, of course, can be front-loaded because of her detonation, so both of these characters, in my opinion, are definitely really good, and I know they are both part of the same element and path, but truth be told, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I feel like if you have a really built-out Kafka team, and you have a really built-out Acheron team, you're really in a good spot when it comes to Memory of Chaos teams in general, because Kafka's just really, really strong. She can go through a bunch of memory chaos levels, honestly, with ease. And then Acheron also has that same ability where she's just able to go through memory of chaos without too much difficulty. And a lot of people I've noticed have actually been able to get their first 0 cycle or just really low cycles in general with Acheron. So I think she's honestly an incredible character, and I do feel like, as we can see, she is S+. I think she's honestly worthy of the top of S+. When it comes to her potential as well, if we were to get into that real quick, I feel like her ceiling is really high for how strong this character can get. If she gets a super dedicated Nihility character to work alongside her, then I could see Acheron just continuously getting better in the future. And her synergy with Nihility characters in general makes her really interesting when it comes to the team building aspect. I know that there has been talk regarding if she's super restrictive or not, and in a sense, yes, but also no, which kind of sounds weird, but let me explain. The reason I say yes is obviously because you want 2 Nihility allies alongside her. Now, I know there's some cases where, let's say you do have the E0, right? And you want to use another Harmony. Sparkle is a pretty good character to put alongside Acheron for sure. You could do Acheron with 1 Nihility character, probably preferably like Pela, just for the defense drops in my opinion. And then you can also have Sparkle, and then of course your Acheron, and then whoever else your last character is. Let's say that it's a sustaining character, so a healer or preservation class character. Those team comps are also really, really strong. I've been testing that out myself, and honestly, you still have a really strong Acheron if you decide to not pair the double Nihility. But of course, if you want that maximum damage increase that you can get from her skill kit, obviously you're going to want 2 Nihility. And one thing I will say right off the bat is that a lot of our Nihility characters are, 5 stars in some fashion. We have Kafka, we have Black Swan, we have Silverwolf, and we have Welt. 4 of them right there are 5-star characters. And then for the 4 stars, we have Luca, Sampo, Gwenaifen, and Pela. Now, thankfully, Pela is actually on Acheron's banner, and Pela is definitely one of her best teammates. Once again, for that defense drop, if you have Pela with Resolution Shines as Pearls of Sweat and a good amount of effect hit rate on her, perfect. And if I'm not mistaken, the 4-star selector actually has Gwenaifen, so you could use Gwenaifen as your 3rd Nihility on the team. And then, of course, you can go the sustain route if you want to use any of the sustains over here, which would be perfectly fine. So there are definitely ways for even a free-to-play player to be able to get a full decked out Nihility team. Gwenaifen is pretty good in my personal opinion with her Fire Kiss and her burns. Pela is awesome for the defense drops. She's definitely one of the best 4-stars in my personal opinion. So Acheron definitely has options, and that's why I wouldn't say she's fully restrictive, because there are ways for everyone to have a chance, or even to guarantee in some cases, these characters that would make her really, really good, or be able to fully take advantage of that Nihility bonus with her skill kit. So overall, in my personal opinion, I feel like her future potential is definitely up there. I could see her getting better even as time goes on. So I personally see her being an S+ for a very long time. And I've never seen a character hit 1,000,000 damage so consistently before. Because this character is just incredible. So I think she's fully worthy of the S+. And if we look beside her, we have Dan Heng and Jingliu. I personally think these characters are definitely worthy of a higher S tier as well. But I will say that I do think Acheron is the #1 for the S+ tier. And Dan Heng and Jingliu can also be an S+. They have definitely gotten really, really strong with characters that have come out. Jingliu was just a powerhouse right off the bat, and in a sense also Dan Heng, but Dan Heng definitely benefited from a character like Sparkle, and this change I believe happened in the last tier list update that he went up because of her, so that's awesome. And then if we look at the rest of the tiers, for our S tier we have Dr. Ratio, Jingyuan, Xingshui, and Zila. And honestly, now that I'm looking at it, not many of our tiers have actually changed that much. They're pretty consistent from the last time I went over the tier list. And I agree with a good amount of the placements for when it comes to, at least for Memory of Chaos. I still feel like personally that Asta probably could be an A tier though. I feel like her versatility for team comps when it comes to speeding up the team. If you have Dance 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 equipped on her, this makes it even stronger. But the attack increases. She can overall be pretty consistent if you are looking at her from an E6 standpoint. She's also pretty good if you don't have Ruame for your damage over time teams. Then Asta is an excellent option that you can go with for sure. You can also do no sustain in a way and have Asta as your pseudo sustain with how she's able to speed up the team and just make you go more within turn cycles. Welt, I also think is worthy personally of A tier. Actually, you know what? This whole B tier I think should be A tier. I feel like they can move up Sushong and Fire Trailblazer and then move up Gunnifin and Welt alongside the A tier, because I just noticed they have Luca and Sampo in A tier, but they do not have Gunnifin in A tier. So I feel like the little dot family should be together. And Welt is just awesome for those who want to do, let's say, no sustain. Welt is pretty good for that, especially if hypothetically you have Ruame as well. Now you have like an ultimate delay team and enemies just take forever to go, and you're just more than likely, depending on your DPS character, you're just going to be able to beat the enemy before they can even touch you. So Welt is pretty nice for that, and I feel like his utility purpose is definitely up there, and I do think he is a little bit slept on, so I feel like he is personally worthy of the A tier. If we look at our sustains, personally, I feel like Fuxuan and Huohuo can be in the same S+ tier, because Huohuo's versatility with giving the team more energy can definitely be really useful for being able to do energy rotations that you weren't actually able to do before. Also, her being able to cleanse the way she does with her skill kit is honestly incredible. If you get inflicted with wind shear, no problem, it's just going to go away. So I personally love Huohuo's utility when it comes to being a really, really good healer. Luocha, I think, can stay in S tier. I do think, though, these top three right here are all really worthy of being in the S and S+ tier. They're all awesome characters, so I think the placements are all right. I would just probably move Huohuo to S+. Fuxuan is honestly awesome because the crit rate she's able to give, the damage mitigation, she's just really good at keeping teams alive, so I personally love Fuxuan as well. And then if we were to just take a quick look, we have Gallagher in B tier, which I don't know if I fully agree with this. I feel like Gallagher is able to actually deal a decent amount of damage depending on how you build him. And then honestly, I really like the fact that he is able to inflict debuffs onto enemies. For example, with his ultimate, he's able to debuff enemies, and then he'll be able to, with one of his traces, if I'm not mistaken, advance himself forward by 100%, and then he can easily just go again. The 100% advance forward after using the ultimate is pretty nice because it reminds me a bit like Sushong. What you could potentially do is, you know, attack with Gallagher or use Gallagher's skill. You get the ultimate, use it afterwards, and now he just gets to go right again. So he basically effectively did 3 things in a row. So I personally think Gallagher can probably be worthy of A tier. But if we were to take a quick look at why Gallagher is in the B tier, let's take a quick look at that. Okay, so here we go. Gallagher possesses the unique niche of being a breaker and a debuffer applying healer. Something entirely unique, placing him in a similar category of synergies of Lynx and her taunting. Unlike Lynx, though, he has some weaknesses when it comes to healing. He sacrifices safety for synergy, and against enemies that dish out a ton of burst damage, Gallagher lacks mitigation. Shields are instant healing, which can lead to death, as with his ultimate available, he cannot heal during an enemy's turn. Okay, that's honestly pretty true. It can be a little rough if you do get hit a bunch with burst damage and in succession as well. So I guess I can kind of see him being in a B tier because of it. Don't think like in general he is a B tier character, but with the logic of, okay, if Lynx is an A, then I can kind of see that. I feel like Gallagher is really good though for his own niche. For Acheron teams, he's pretty nice. And then also, a lot of our preservation class characters definitely get to shine more with Acheron because of the trend market Lycone. Overall, I think Gallagher maybe could improve with time. I'm not too sure, honestly, but I would love to know like how you guys feel about Gallagher. I think he's worthy of maybe being higher, but once again, I guess, is he on the Lynx tier or do you think the B tier is okay? I'm kind of curious where you guys would also think that Aventurine will be placed. I personally feel like he's easily going to be an S tier or the S+ tier. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I feel like because of his potentially offensive nature, and if he has really beefy shields and is able to sustain very, very well, then I can easily see him being an S+ or S tier. And of course, once he comes out, I'll definitely be able to go over that when it comes to his placement and what I personally think. But for the rest of the tier list, I can see why most characters didn't move. It was mainly just that Acheron got added as an S+, and then Gallagher got added. I want to see though if when Aventurine comes out, if there's going to be any changes with the tier list, but I personally just think that maybe the sustains might move around a little bit depending on where they place him. But yeah, that's my personal opinions on where I think characters should be moved. I would love to know you guys' thoughts on the character placements. Do you guys agree with the S+, the S tiers, the A's, the B's? Or do you guys feel like some of these characters should be shifted around? Like, do you guys think that Pela should actually be an S tier? Because I could totally see something like that for sure. Asta an A tier maybe, Gallagher an A, maybe moving around some of the DPS characters. I would just love to know all of your thoughts. So be sure to let me know in the comments down below. And of course, if you guys did enjoy this video, do make sure to subscribe, leave a like to support the video. And I hope to see you all next time. And I hope you all have a great one, of course. Peace.